You need some way of getting some individualized information from all of your students. The details about most of your typically developing students won't be as important in this context. Depending on the information you gather or what seems to be so closely guarded, the students who need more special handling may stand out. Many educators make this information gathering a part of their routine, especially in the elementary school years, less so in junior high and high school. You can use writing assignments for this purpose, bio poems or This Is Me craft projects. These are most useful for younger students. Older students may agree to complete a more thorough survey, and depending on what you get, you can thereafter meet individually with selected students and get more. Use this information gathering as a relationship-based intervention to help you see the world through the anxious student's invisible glasses. What you ask depends on what you're interested in. What are his preferences? Where does she live? Big family? Small family? What are 5 positive things that she can write about her life? 3 negatives. What's his attitude about school? About learning? Is the student willing to describe 3 things that past teachers could have done better? What's the student's self-appraisal of her abilities? Which does she think's more important? How hard a person works or how smart a person is? The information you gather, as I said, will be determined by what you're interested in and what you're looking for, what you consider relevant. But I would want to know, does she ask for help when she's frustrated or just quit trying? How does he show that he's sad or nervous or angry? How can we decode the student's communication? So the natural result of this information gathering should be the establishment of a relationship-building communication process. And whatever else you communicate, get the message across to your student with anxiety that I'm on your side, I get you, and I'm going to help you take some chances. We're in this together. But mean it. Remember, in any relationship, actions speak louder than words. You're an educator. That means that you're under stress, pressed for time, probably underappreciated, and definitely underpaid. You're going to be grouchy sometimes. But you still have to be mindful of the student's experience of you, especially the student struggling with anxiety, and be aware of yourself and your interactions. So maybe put yourself in a one-down position and actually invite your students to help you monitor your tone of voice, your demeanor, your facial expressions, your posture, whatever. Because these skills of self-observation and responsibility taking are the ones you want your students to develop. Emotional self-control. So teach them how it's done, and that everyone must do it, even you. This simple modeling intervention is another thing that humanizes you, and it teaches a skill, one that will save you time and emotional energy down the road. I know, it's hard not to take things personally, especially if you've already invested blood, sweat, and tears into a particular student without much reward. But it may pay to remember that most of the time the anxious student's behaviors are not about you, so try not to take them personally. As an adult, a professional educator, you have the skills to stand outside of the situation, to acknowledge your feelings but set them aside. Odds are, though, your student with anxiety can't do this. When you model appropriate emotional self-management, you're demonstrating this essential skill, the ability to remain rational and problem solve. And everybody must learn this if they're to have successful reciprocal relationships. Relationships that facilitate lasting, healthy change have at least 5 characteristics in common, and I call them the 5 T's. They are tenderness, trust, talk, time, and tenacity. Even if you just met, you have a relationship with your student. As I've mentioned, at first the relationship's based only on his experiences with other adults and your experiences with other students. Each of you comes to the relationship with a set of expectations, the invisible glasses that you use to look at the world and other people. Unless you plan to get by on intimidation and threats of punishment, your interventions, if successful, will have to be collaborative. And where does tenderness fit in? The student with anxiety is leery, on the lookout for dangers, ready to avoid them. May not assume that you're a nice person who cares about him as an individual. Tenderness is a mindset. It's about finding something to like about even the most obnoxious student. It's communicated verbally, non-verbally, and through actions. While it surely helps to know things about a student's problem, knowing the student as a person is essential. Think about it. This is something you know how to do, but it's not easy to show tenderness to a student who's making your job so difficult and taking away time from your other students. So you may have to fake it a little. Do a self-check. If you've spent more than a few minutes with a problem student, you're using interventions. You may not be implementing an individualized intervention plan, but interventions are definitely happening. And if they're not working, this will make you feel some combination of anxious, frustrated, angry. Feelings are difficult for any of us to control, but they're especially troublesome if they aren't acknowledged consciously. Are you acting on your very natural emotions? For instance, are you avoiding the problem because you don't know what to do and that makes you anxious? Does the student experience you as a frustrated, angry, or dismissive person? If so, don't dismay and don't be too hard on yourself. Recognizing this, if it's true, will put you on the right path. It's important. Try to stop yourself from making your distress the student's fault, because how you think about the problem is very, very important.